All right, so I wanted to make this video real quick because Bitcoin is dropping. It went from, 120, 125, and we're down to 63K. And if you see this red line right here, this was, just a mathematical calculation I made. I don't know when I made it, but I was looking at some posts on Telegram, and I think it was like July when I had said that, and everybody was pretty bullish. And but you can see right here the cycle 1, 2, and 3. I don't know if I have another chart of Bitcoin. Let me check this one. Is it this one? Yeah. So this is the extended view. I guess it doesn't have the measurements that I have on my chart, but basically you can see it goes up, then it goes down, it goes up, and it goes down, and it goes up, and it goes down, and it goes up, and everybody's like, I think it's going to go further up. So anyways, you can see that it continues to do that over and over again. So let's go back to the measurements. So the measurements on this chart is around 1,430 days. So from here to here, and here to here, and here to here, right? And so that's where this red line comes in. So for me, it's just another day. This is the cycle of the halving process where they distribute half the amount of Bitcoin rewards if you participate in the network, because Bitcoin needs to be powered by computers to transact, right? You got to have computers to transact. So who's, running the computer? I feel like a lot of people don't put that together in their minds, is like there are people that are running the computers to transact, have a network. So every time that it reaches a certain cycle, you get less and less Bitcoin for leaving your computer on. That creates not inflation, but deflation. And it causes, scarcity to happen because there's less Bitcoin getting distributed. And so the price goes up. And so for me, I'm like, okay, well, 1, 2, 3 here, right here. And I put this line right here, maybe back in July, or even probably sooner than that. But that was the last, receipt that I have posting in a Telegram group, like, hey, you've got until like the end of October. So anyways, now we're coming down to here, and I guess I have these lines. I put these lines, I don't know where these lines are going, but my point is that like a lot of people that I'm interacting, talking with, they're still just thinking that crypto is just going to go up from here. And for me, I've been through all of this. And so I was talking with somebody on the phone, and we were just saying, they had said that they had told somebody to buy XRP, and they made them buy at like the very top, wherever that was, like, $3 or something around there. And now it's down, past half. And we were talking about it. I'm like, hey, look, just because they bought there does not mean that they're at a loss. And I'm not talking about selling or not selling, that whole realized thing. And I'm not talking about investing. What I'm talking about is what you get from buying and watching your portfolio go down. I was able to have success because of the fact that I was able to experience that particular, growth from having my decision reflect back the opposite of what I thought it was going to do. I thought it was going to go up, and it went down. And so for anybody, if you're sitting with a position that is less than where you started, or you were expecting it to go further up, this is what this video really is meant to cover, is why that's valuable. Because what you're essentially paying for is you're paying for the experience of, well, first off, let's just say, you put in like $1,000 or something right here, and now it's worth like 500 or less. You're like, shoot, I could have put my money in this, or I could have put my money in that, or I could have, double my money, or I could have just waited and bought in right now. Well, when you're over here, you're envisioning it doing this again. You're envisioning it going further up. And so it's kind of like getting a seat at a concert. And once you're at that concert, you want to see the performance. And so the way that I see trading, particularly like using QFL trading, which is like one of the primary methods that I use, what's going on is you're a patron. You know what I'm saying? You're not working a job. But if you're trying to make money at this, you are making your money working a job, okay? And so everybody right here, when you buy, there's a lot of euphoria, fireworks, and all of that stuff. When you buy down here, there's a lot of like despair and sadness and all of that. And at a job, let's say you actually work at a place where there's events and concerts and stuff. If you're buying right here, you're essentially the cleaning crew, okay, that's cleaning up the mess after a concert. The concert has been performed all throughout here. You hear the news, the euphoria, the excitement, and everybody gets their seats and they all sit in right here. And then they all leave. But the euphoria is experienced all on the front end before you buy. You see what I'm saying? And so once you get down here, that's like the aha that I had. And so for a lot of these people, they might never have, this revelation of like, oh, okay, red bars are the ones that I want to buy, not the green bars. And there's different strategies, obviously. So it's not just kind of a black and white, this is how you do it, because somebody could buy right here and it could keep going further down, and it does. So the reason why I wanted to make this video is because for anybody that has purchased higher up and they're further down, I think really the message that I want to convey is that, are you at a loss? Like, define a loss. And I'm not talking about if you're just not selling, not that type of loss. I'm talking about the loss of, or, not losing in the sense of, what is your experience right now? What are you gaining from this experience? Because if everything's handed to you on a platter, then you're never gonna learn or grow. And this is a reflection back of who you are as a person when you're trading, because you're trading with yourself. Yes, you're trading with a market of people, but since you're not interacting with other people, it's you and yourself, right? And so right now we're at this point, and so somebody right now, they're like, well, this sucks. I'm down on money, right? And they're like, how do I get out of this experience, right? That's probably something that somebody's thinking is like, I just want out. I don't want to lose money, but I don't want to experience this pain. Well, let me tell you, when I'm doing this as a job, that feeling of pain that you're having is the pain that I'm experiencing buying and making profits. So when I go in and I'm like the cleaning crew, cleaning up this mess, and everybody's selling, I'm not necessarily feeling good about it. So I have to reprogram my brain, okay, to understand that this needs to feel good when I see this. And there's probably a lot of people that are thinking, I'm already there, right? Like, oh yeah, I already do that. You don't need to explain that to me. But the term that's used in QFL when you buy big is balls of steel. And what can happen is a lot of people, they're like, yeah, I get it, red bars. And one of two things happens once you finally make it to that next phase, which is like, okay, I'm going to buy the red bars, is either A, you're buying way too much too soon, which I've covered in other videos, right? You're buying like, you see maybe you bought in right here, or maybe you bought in like right here and now it's gone further down, and now you're feeling dumb when you bought at 75 and now it's at 63. Or you haven't bought in big right here, because if we do a measurement, that's a lot actually. That's 23%. That actually is a huge drop. And it's funny because this has happened before. If we look back here, So here's that first drop, and then here's that second drop. But if you look at the pattern, it's like, wait, are you for real? There's even more to go? It's like, wait a second, if that's the pattern, then that means it's gonna go down further here. And then it's gonna go down further here. So we're gonna be going like all the way, maybe not that much. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe we'll go back to 20K. But I wanna just make this point really valid, which is there are a ton of things that you can do to get, to make more out of this situation than what it currently is. But whatever it is that you're going to do, oftentimes in my experience, what I found is that the more I struggle, then the worse I make it. I was actually watching a prior video of myself trading, and I was talking about how I was making all these mistakes, and then I just turned the bot on because I did a lot of bot trading. And the moment that I turned the bot on, everything was like flawless and perfect. But we're not robots. And so that's, a lot of what's going on here is that we're very emotional, and also, we're prone to make mistakes. And so I want to turn on the ProSum Solutions Vinny bot, and I want to show you some things about like where it's suggesting to buy, because this is the tool that I use to, make all of the success that I have happen. And that is, if you see right here, each one of these lines is telling you to get more and more and more and more size. So it's small, medium, large, extra large, extra, extra large. And you can see down here, they've got capital down at 40K. So they're anticipating between where we're at now, 63, they still haven't bought yet in the bot's algorithm. So the bot in this case is buying below 60K. And then all within here, right here, which this is a lot for like a Bitcoin type coin, but for like a mid cap or like altcoin that's really small, this is more common. But I guess my point is that they're really pacing themselves with this algorithm to gear up for a drop like that. And it doesn't always happen. There's different markets and conditions and all of that. But the reason that I'm showing you this is because this is the mentality, is like buying wholesale and getting more quantity as it goes further down. And this is, again, this is the QFL mindset, but also, a lot of other people do this as well. And so you can see, just if you haven't seen like the QFL buying strategy, it's where you double, triple, quadruple, sometimes 10x, sometimes 50 or 100x, depending on how you prefer to buy, where you may only buy like $1 right here, and then you may only buy $10 right here, and then you may buy 100, and you just add on more zeros depending on your portfolio for your position. So $1 might be $10, and then this would be $100 and 1,000, or 100, 1,000, and then 10,000. You know what I'm saying? But the magnitude between, let's say, $1 and 100, that's 1 to 100. So that's 1/100th of where you're buying right here. So when you're buying right here, it's like, why am I even buying right here? Like, it's only $1, and I'm gonna get 100 down here. And that's kind of the mentality, is that when you're doing this, you're seeing it in a completely different, like it's almost kind of like how a fisheye lens will like distort and bloat the image. That's kind of how the buying process would go, where you see it start to drop and you're like, well, I'm buying nothing. And then it goes down a little bit further and you're like, I'm still buying nothing. But then out of nowhere, it'll just panic drop like this. And then all of a sudden you're buying like so much of your portfolio all of a sudden. And for a lot of people, that is not how they operate. And I think about this a lot because that's the stuff that takes balls of steel. So first off, you've got like all this patience by not buying in, but then all of a sudden, like a light switch turns on, and then all of a sudden you're buying so much, and you're holding on to it for a really long time in your mind. Like, okay, this is now going, I'm going to expect this to go back up. And with Bitcoin, they have what I've called in prior videos thunder candles, and I just made that term up. Let's turn the for some solutions bot off. So let's go back to the last time it dropped. You can see the last time that it really did this, it kind of did the exact same thing. Went down right here, went down right here. Kind of came back up for like a little bull trap or whatever. And then it came down, and then it did not bounce at all. It didn't come back up because right here, this was the, really right here was the prior support. And it didn't even, it went down so far that it had this as the prior support as well. So this support became the resistance and blocked it from touching the prior support right here. So it went down even further, okay? And if we were to measure this out right now, from right here where the bull trap was, we went down 64%. I think I actually lost some money right here. And the way that the strategy works, you're not supposed to lose money. So, you know, like overall I profited, but at the same time, like I had to cut some losers that I was expecting to go further up. So if we were to do that same thing, 60 some odd percent, that does put us right at that 40,000 mark. And then now let's go back to the, I call it the Vinny bot. Because our boy Vinny made the bot. So I guess what I'm saying is like, even if you're taking this same mentality where you're going to buy more and more and more with larger and larger size, like this line is not out of the question. And like, it doesn't come back up for a while because it's like a, you know, a major sell-off right here. And you can see just on the daily time frame, you usually wouldn't trade this on the daily in this kind of same mentality. I mean, you could have bought down here and then you would have sold and made profit right there. So, you know, it could have worked to your advantage, but a lot of people are too emotional to make this work. I think, you know, like this is definitely like an intermediate to professional kind of tier of drop where it's just nonstop dropping and there's no really return to the support or the base. Like this yellow line right here, it never came back to touch that line. It just, there was too many sellers. And I mean, you may even say like right here, well, this wasn't a base because, you know, the bounce was really weak. Like if you look at all these other ones, you get these big buyer reactions, and that's like a huge element of QFL. So in this case, this wasn't really a bounce. You see what I'm saying? So this panic drop doesn't necessarily qualify in the same way that QFL would necessarily qualify. So it may only come back up to, which actually would make a lot more sense. It may only come back up from 60, however much, to 75. So you may only see like a 20%. I mean, hey, 20% is not bad. But that's something, you know, that you would expect. And then it would go further down. So let's say you're somebody that that bought in at whatever rate and you're wanting to take action. So the QFL rules would be you always sell on a bounce. And even though this is like really hard for like a newcomer to identify what a bounce is because you can't really see it as it's happening. You just see it drop and then you're like, is that a bounce? Like, I don't know if that's a bounce. The one advice that I would have to say is to use these measuring tools and set alerts. So the measuring tools, let me show you where these are. You've got the price range, date and price range. Then you can put a star on them and then have these tools right here that you can measure. And I've customized mine to, you know, be darker gray and not have all those crazy lines. And they add a bunch of lines so you can like double click and customize these tools right here, and you can have like a label background turned off. And anyways, don't want to get too deep into that. And then also alerts, which you really do have to pay for alerts if you're serious. But another point that I wanted to make was somebody was just like buying crypto and they're like, I don't want to do it your way. And as I started talking with them, I started thinking about what it was that they were doing. And I'm like, look, if you're trading, that is kind of like a job. But if you're working your job and you're making profits and you put those profits into the crypto, then that is to me the same thing as trading and making free coins. If you're working a job and then you're investing into crypto, no matter where it's going, right? So as it's going further down, you're buying more still, then to me, that's equal. So it's okay for it to go down. And if you're just wanting to get like a really massive position, you don't want to sell, your free coins, that's fine. But I think that's really the mentality is like, where are you starting? Because for that person, that is exactly the same thing. If they were going to be trading and they were making free coins and then they left their profits in the free coins, that is QFL. So if they're working their job and they're making profits that are free for them to invest into crypto and they're buying free coins, that's the same activity. But I really think like the expectations that people might have with all of this stuff is really important because in this situation, what we're dealing with here, I put these lines right here. It's nice to kind of know the expectations when you get into this. Is like if you're anticipating making money where you buy at one point and then you sell at another point, that was a lesson that I had to learn because in my mind, if we come back here when Bitcoin was at 20K, there was a moment where, and I had only put in like $30, right? I bought $10 of Bitcoin, $10 of Ethereum, and $10 of XRP. And it's so funny when it came down here, it was worth like $3 each. So it was like 10. I started with 30 and I ended with 10. But if you're expecting to like put in $1,000 and it turns into $10,000 or $100,000, right? Like the gains that you're gonna get, like you just have to be realistic with like a lot of these gains. And like if you're going to do something like that, then it's just kind of helpful to kind of be like if you're going on a long trip, for instance, you're like trying to get from New York to California. And you're like, yeah, I've got this bicycle and I'm going to ride it and I'm going to get all the way from New York to LA. That is kind of a similar mentality. Is like, you don't know how much of a trek that is. And that bicycle cannot do a lot of the heavy lifting to get you where you want to go in the amount of time that you want to go there. So for people that are buying up here, oftentimes the expectation is just unrealistic where they're like, yeah, somebody told me to buy in and they're talking about all these riches. So probably what's going on in their head is they're like, yeah, I'm going to put in $1,000 and I'm going to get out $10,000. And then I'm going to have my $1,000 and, I'm going to have 10,000. So, and that was a quote unquote pipe dream that for a lot of different people when they bought in, down at like, $1 per Bitcoin, that is the case. And so a lot of people are expecting that. But, with like a lot of institutional money coming into here and it's starting to normalize in terms of like the volatility is shrinking little by little. You're not going to see that unless you're doing one of these like Hail Mary altcoins. And these altcoins are like a dime a dozen and they just die out of nowhere. And I was recently purging my list of on my watch list, and there were like so many altcoins that I remember them coming out and they were the hot new thing, and then they just disappeared. And they're gone now from the exchange being able to trade them. But, that's kind of, it's like, where are you going to get in on any of these altcoins where you're at the ground level before it takes off? Like the odds of that, you know what I'm saying? Like if you were to crunch the numbers of all of the odds of being able to get in on a crypto like that, like you'd be better off just taking, let's say, like $5,000 or $10,000 and just randomly placing like 10 to 20 to $30 like all throughout the books. Like I'm willing to buy it if it goes down to like this price, this price, this price, and this price on like every single coin on the market, and just wait for one of them to hit at like an absolutely crazy, low price, and it shoots up. Like those odds are likely more probable than to hear about something in the news and ride a wave up really high. Like that news is propaganda. And it's funny too, like I get less trading videos now, but like a lot of the trading videos, like you'll never be successful. Like that one thing that I just said, putting a bunch of like buy orders down at the like really low numbers right here. For instance, like this particular coin, you don't know which coin is going to drop. You can get alerts set up, but like most people aren't gonna really pay attention to those alerts anyways. But like down here, that dropped like 87%. So from like here up, if I can click it, like that's 2,000%. Okay, and that's if you sell, if you know that it's going to go up, which you don't know that it's going to go up all the way from, first off, you don't know that it's going to go down there. Second off, you don't know that it's going to go up here. Like in this case, somebody might have bought in right here and it went up to here and they were like, no, I'm going to sell it once it gets up to this yellow line. And then it goes down further and they're like, no, it's going down further, sell. And they sell right here and then it goes up right there, right? Like that's more likely than somebody actually like perfectly timing this right. Like there's no way that anybody can really time this stuff without experience doing this type of stuff. And that's the expectation that like when I hear people talk about like buying crypto and they want to invest and do all this stuff, if you're trying to invest long term, like I'm talking like 5 or 10 years, like first off, most of these altcoins haven't, like the ones that are taking off, where you're making like thousands of percentages, most of these altcoins are like dying off and they're irrelevant now. I mean, the NFT market where, you were buying like JPEG files, that was like a bubble that a bunch of people created for themselves. They were literally buying their own NFTs from themselves with their, giving their money to their friends, and their friends were buying the crypto. And so anyways, that's kind of what I'm saying is like the odds of success with this stuff where you're going to have like this big long-term gain, it's probable, but because of like all of this human error and whatnot, like if I were to recommend a strategy for somebody, it would be to, if you're somebody that works a job and you've got like a bunch of free profits from your job that you're willing to invest into crypto or whatever, it would be to just, put small amounts of money in as it goes down like further and further to like increase the amount that you're buying weekly, or, however much your dollar cost averaging. That would be what I would recommend for somebody. And, I would recommend paying for some type of alert system where it doesn't have to be like, rapid fire alerts, like for people that are trading QFL, where you need those alerts to notify you. AllTradey is a great one that notifies you like immediately. It's a paid service, but it is incredible. But yeah, I mean, like, look at this. That's so funny. This one dropped. I traded this one for a while when it did this, when it dropped down here, and then I guess it came back up, revived itself, and now here we are back down again at the beyond the lowest point. I mean, I think these were dead anyways. These were like related to Reddit. The one that I looked at, Brick, and then Moon. I'm surprised these are still going on. you don't have to look at all of these charts that I'm looking at, but I think the main thing, just the takeaway from all of this is if you're stuck and you bought at the top at any one of these cryptos, realistically look into the past. Like that's probably been the biggest, most helpful advice is like look into the past and see the patterns of what's happening. Like don't listen to the news. I can't stress that enough. Like sure, the news might be viable to some degree, but like my success was not generated from the news. And like when I look at this, that looks the exact same as this. And then this came up and it came up like this, and this is going down like this. And it looks like it's going to go down again. Like it's going to come up a little bit and then it's going to come down and then it's going to go down further. Maybe it won't. We didn't really have like this successful, bounce like the last ones. I mean, this was slightly underwhelming compared to this one, and this was incredibly underwhelming compared to this one. So I would say, I mean, you could get out. If you want to get out, then you'd be looking to, is it going down further? You would want to sell on a bounce, and then you would want to buy back in at a lower rate and get a better position. And you could do that. That is a realistic thing that people do is, and I've done it as well, where you try and get a better position. You sell, you basically get off the train so that you can get on at a better position. Sometimes you have to miss the train, then sometimes you have to get back on the train at a worse position, and then even then it'll force you back off the train again. And those are just like life lessons that you have to do. So yeah, I would just say like wherever you're at, and there is, yes, that factor of, it's not a loss if you don't sell. And I've got a lot of friends that realized early on that they're never going to be able to trade and make a profit and buy dips and sell. And so all they do is they just buy and buy and buy and do dollar cost averaging, and it works out for them. They see their portfolio going into the green. But I mean, the biggest thing, the most important thing is really to understand and wire yourself to feel safe buying where you're wanting to buy. And in this case, if I were to, in fact, actually, when it dropped right here, I had called somebody up and I was like, now is the time. This was, I thought it was October. It was like October, November. But yeah, I remember calling them because they were like, it can't go lower than here. I was like, yeah. And then it did, and I'm like, now's the time if you want to buy. And then they might have bought right here, but they bought a little bit, and then they bought all up through here, and now here we are. So that would be really my main thing is like you want to buy when it's going down. So like this really is the sign to put in your money down here, like put it all in here. And if it doesn't get hit, then the mentality of the attitude is like, this is the QFL mentality is please go lower, because if it doesn't go down there, then you're not going to make money. So that is the mentality here is you want to make money. And so the lower it goes, the more money you're going to make. And investing long-term, is a different type of mentality than day trading or like position trading. So whatever you end up doing, I guess really my main thing is that I would convey really two things is that, these red candles are something that you have to mentally understand how it works. And a lot of times what people will do is they'll switch the green to the red and the red to the green. That's fine if you need to do that in the beginning. But it's just a lot easier just to look at red and be like, oh, red is good. Like, and understanding, red is good in the context of like, I want to buy down here at 40. You know what I'm saying? Like, and there's different strategies. I'm only talking about QFL trading, buying the dip with like a strong buyer reaction first. And right now there are no buyers in the market. There's no money in the market of people that want to buy, and it's all sellers that are pushing the price down. So if you're trying to sell, who are you going to sell to?